when we think about ourselves and we go, well, I want a $5 million business, it's like, you know that you can't really facilitate or be the only foundation stone to build that, big business or that house on top of. You need to actually spread that load a little bit. And, having half of a watermelon is better than having a whole grape. So how old are you going to be before you start to experience life like you want it? I want to tell you right now, whether you like it or not, there is a better way to do business. Hi everyone, welcome to the Business for Builders podcast. Welcome to you if you're in YouTube land. My name's Max. I'm the CEO at Smith & Sons Remodeling Experts Canada Inc. And today, it's great to have you on the show. Appreciate you chiming in all the time. I know that we've got quite a developing audience, and it's great. And we just love the fact that more often than not, I'm getting feedback to say that we are making a bit of a difference. So that really does inspire me to keep going. As Gary Vaynerchuk would say, it's my oxygen. So today, as usual, I'm going to bring something to the table. Hopefully you can either dwell on that, consider it, or implement it straight away, or it might confirm something in your head that you've been thinking about for a while. And try and remove some of the myths, perhaps. Want to be a bit of a contractor mythbuster. Dom, we should use that. Don't forget that, contractor mythbuster. What myths could we bust for you guys? Anyway, let's get back on track. So don't forget, like, subscribe, all that wonderful stuff. And also, hit us up on email, max@businessforbuilders.ca, or go to the businessforbuilders.ca website. Alternatively, something we're just chatting offline about to our audience there on TikTok is the B4B or Business for Builders VIP Facebook page. We are seriously contemplating what we can do with that, with that group. We want to build that community of general contractors and get across there. And you'll probably if you hit it up for, hey, I want to join that private group, I'm the guy that's going to be typing in a few questions just to make sure that you're not a scammer. And hopefully we get, we want good quality individuals in that group. We want to kind of avoid the knuckleheads if we can. But what we want to do is maybe put out some, what we're going to call the under the hood videos are going to go on that B4B VIP Facebook page. Go looking for that. It'll have a B4B VIP with a little crown on it. Dom, you might have just done something there. Did you in TikTok or not? No, never mind. And so what we'll do is, and we'll also upload some files there as well. So I'm going to constantly be rotating, different resources in there, and resources might be, hey, you need to, you need to read the E-Myth Revisited or whatever book that I think might be appropriate. Either download that sucker from Audible or go and buy the hard copy off of Amazon, one of the two, or whatever you do. But folks, the more you learn, the more you earn. That was said by Warren Buffett. All right, so today, let's get back on track. Otherwise, my team's going to come around here and slap me. Today, I'm going to, and it's interesting, I like to try and bring to you guys and girls a message around what I've experienced. I don't sit here as anybody that's done anything super special. I've been around the industry for 30-something years, going on 34, I think. And so, it's there's nothing that I would try and just conjure up, and today is no different. The message I got for you today is no different. And what I want to quickly talk about, I don't believe that I've ever done a podcast about business partnership, Dom. I don't think I have ever done that. So this is a first. This is just something I was thinking about. I'm blessed to have 3 business partners, and we are very different in maybe our backgrounds, but it really gels well together. And so today I'm going to talk about the power of partnership, but I'm not just going to go and give it, like piss and, like just all excellence and it's like so good all the time. It's not like that at all. It's sort of like being married, actually. It's almost like a second marriage. But, there's a lot of positivity that comes out of it. And a lot of, we talk about this in the same light when we're talking about talking to our general contractors and prospective general contractors about the Smith & Sons franchise business. And that is the exponential power and benefit in joining forces with another party. Now, and I'm not saying that it's going to be all blue skies and lollipops, but it certainly is, if it's done right and all of the parties involved have that understanding of give and take and they think about the long game, it definitely, it really does have a positive impact. So we talk about the exponential benefit. It's moving, like John Maxwell says, no one of us can be as smart as all of us, which is another reason that we wanted to put together this, go beyond the Q&As that we're having on a Friday. We really want to consolidate, what we're building here and really put it into an actual solid community like B4B VIP on Facebook. And so, we want to get some context around, and it's hard because all of you guys and girls are very different, human-wise. Like, we're all very different. So one piece of advice that I might put out on a Q&A, or one piece of advice I might throw down on a podcast, it may not end up being relevant to you as an individual at this time. In 5 years, maybe that's changed. And that moving target is what really does motivate me to just sort of embrace the challenge. I'd love to lay it down and pour it in concrete and go, right, set and forget, we're done. But unfortunately, that's not how humans are created. And so we have to then, we have to flex with that kind of movement within the program. So let me start out. I've got 4 pros, five cons. Okay. It's not an exhaustive list. It was just something I got thinking about, and coming from a position where once upon a time I was a sole operator. I didn't have business partners. I didn't have anything like that. I was all reliant on me. Now today in a different business, but still in construction, dealing with general contractors every day in a more of a coaching, mentoring type role, I see the benefits, massive benefits of partnership. And I'm telling you right now, I couldn't do what I do without, having been blessed enough to be able to sort of join forces with my 3 other business partners. So let's start off with the pros. Let's go with the good news first. Let's eat the dessert first. Life is short. Look, I think, the benefit that I have, and I guess I can contextualize it, and I'm going to go from my point of view. This is what I experience. So I'm not hyperbolizing, and I'm not just kind of making up shit here to, post on, podcasts and YouTube and whatnot. But we're really trying to give you context around what is actually happening. And so from my point of view, the thing I love about, the business partnership world is because, and I think there's got to be mutual respect. Let's just say that from the get-go. Recognize it. You don't have to be the hero, but our goals and our agenda, our end result, we've got to be on the same page for sure. And so that was a lot of the conversation that we had. And so the chemistry's got to work. It's the same whether it's a marriage or whether it's a rock and roll band or whether it's a business, a business partnership. I think you can benefit from shared decision making. So literally, I was running late to this podcast, so sorry to all our folks in TikTok land. But I literally bounced off of a call from one of my franchise general contractors, and straight out of that, I was on another call to my business partner in Australia, ironically, and that's when I thought, I should chat to the folks about my life as a business operator, having 3 business partners. So the shared decision making, literally as we were talking less than 30 minutes ago. We were talking about our business model and some of the variations on it and some of the changes in direction, and we're always, and this is the part, talking about it. We were talking about something, let's say 5 days ago, and only just now we've gone, okay, so this is what we're going to do. Those 2 things there, we're going to leave in position. We're going to keep that one there at corporate office. And so there's this decision-making process that's really, it's very collaborative. And, I think it's important, we've got a list of 11 criteria or character traits that we want in our franchise general contractors. And one of those is your ability to collaborate. Now, I mean, we're not built to be an island. We're all at some level, we're social butterflies. Sometimes I just like going home and having a 40 Creek, which all the Canadians out there, they'll know exactly what I'm talking about. And just sitting back, a couple of blocks of ice and just kind of kicking up, watching some Netflix and just chilling. Like that sometimes to me is where I, get my energy from or get my energy back. But in some cases, I love hanging out with the boys, down the local watering hole. Down at Don Cherry's, another one for the Canadians. I know about that one. Everyone else is going to shoot me, but it's all good fun. So, that shared decision-making, that collaboration that we have, it really goes a long way because, I know if you're sitting there by yourself, you'll make a decision to go do something. And the minute you have, all of a sudden you start second-guessing yourself and you're like, I wonder if that was the right thing to do. And, there's decisions that I make on a daily basis, in this business that I think, boy, I'd love to have, because my business partners, here's the thing, they're overseas as well. So we'll talk about some other bits and pieces and having those guys so far away, you can't help but think that that would be you talk about a long distance relationship, right? That's essentially what we got going on here. And we've been at it now I think we started talking about this and probably started to get our shit together as far as shareholder agreements and things like that in 2016. We didn't go open to market until about 2018. A lot of that was because I didn't have permanent residency I didn't get a work visa. So I went basically, and we had to wait until that shit came through from Canadian immigration. Side note, if you guys run your business like Canadian immigration, you will be out of business. Just saying, back on track. Right. So, yeah, we'll put that one out on public and tag Justin Trudeau. No. I'm not going to get political. That's not what this show's about. Sorry, folks. That was just that was the human side coming out. Oh, it was a disgusting process. Took so long. Took like 24 months. So, that shared decision making, that's awesome. But, I think if you start finding yourself arguing, that's where there's a problem. And usually that's because there's egos in play and everyone's got a better idea and everyone thinks their idea is the best and all that sort of shit. Okay, so that's point number one. We're talking about the pros and cons of business partnership. The second one I've got there is shared financial resources. I think that's really... I had a guy say to me once, you can have either you can have all of a grape or half a watermelon, or whatever the percentages are. But, sometimes you've just got to understand that if you're playing the long game and you understand business is an infinite game, and a lot of the time it's fun actually, working towards a goal with a team. And in some cases, you might get that from having your own team. They won't necessarily be business partners or shareholders or anything like that. But, having good people in and on your team is definitely, it's some good times. I mean, don't get me wrong. There's situations where that gets pretty ugly, but ultimately, if you're seeing the long-term picture, then you'll be able to resolve stuff because the ego will be put to one side. So, shared financial resources, the ability to pool the skills and resources would be number three. On top of having shared financial resources, you've then got the ability to pool the skills and the expertise. And one situation that comes to mind is a couple of guys I met from a large building company who actually went out on their own. And one guy was essentially corporate, very much a general manager, business development type guy. And then the other guy was very much a construction manager. He used to run, about 6 or 8 supervisors or superintendents. And those two guys, I looked at that situation. I thought there's a really good example of how the two different they come from a similar background, but they've gone down a bit of a different rabbit hole as far as developing their career. And when they come together, it was a pretty cool. One guy would take care of business development and sales, and the other guy would talk to vendors and suppliers and subcontractors, and then also deal with construction management. So again, I think when we think about ourselves and we go, well, I want a $5 million business, it's like, that you can't really facilitate or be the only foundation stone to build that, big business or that house on top of. You need to actually spread that load a little bit. And, having half of a watermelon is better than having a whole grape. So, think about, you might have people in mind. You might be considering this. You might even be in a situation where you've got a business partner and you're just nodding your head going, yeah, it's cool. It's not perfect, but it's cool. It's going in the right direction. So that's, if that's the case, good for you. Partnerships can also provide a sense of accountability and motivation. So two parts to that. And like I was alluding to just before, accountability, because of the distance and the chance where my business partners could start thinking that maybe I'm doing things that aren't above board, or there might be some things happening that they don't know about. Suspicion will kill a marriage. Suspicion will kill a friendship. Suspicion will kill a business partnership like that. That will break that shit because Suspicious Minds. Does Elvis sing a song called Suspicious Minds? Yeah, I'm looking at my 19-year-old creative director. He has no clue who even Elvis is. No, I think he might know who Elvis is. But it's suspicious minds that really do destroy the integrous nature of a partnership, and you need to have 100% trust. And that could be a criteria, or one of the criteria that you use to assess whether or not you go into business. Matter of fact, Simon Sinek. And I use this video in my training with guys, and they talk about guys with skills and then their ability to trust, I think it is. And there's a Simon Sinek video, and I wish I had thought about this before because I would have got my shit together. But he talked about either trust and performance, I think. And so, this was Simon Sinek actually talking to Navy SEALs about this. and they would take someone that performs at a lower rate with a higher level of trust. That's what they were talking about. So basically when they're talking about trust, it's like, can I trust you with my money and my honey? If you know what I mean. Would I trust him with my money? Would I trust him with my wife? And then the other scale was the performance. So if you're a high performer and I can't trust you with my money and with my honey, then we ain't going to do business. I would take someone who was a medium performer who I can trust implicitly with my wife and with my money. So, it's that, that side of things about accountability. You need to understand that the ramifications of the lack of accountability is probably destruction. The thing won't last. If you don't trust and you are not prepared to be prepared to be accountable with a high level of transparency, then I think the thing is going to be destined for failure. And obviously the motivation part of that accountability and motivation point is that, I don't want to let my guys down. I don't want to let my team down. I don't want to let my family down. So as it relates to business partnerships, sometimes it's good. As long as one partner doesn't get thinks he's red hot and his shit doesn't stink, and that he's the best. I think where there's this attitude towards, and you probably don't hear this word too often, your attitude towards servanthood. In other words, that I am here to help everybody else. I mean, there's a lot of people that rely on me for their income, say, their business development, and their future it all rides on my ability to biz dev and to run a business. And so, knowing that is our mandate and that is our goal as a company, that's why I've got to be talking to my business partners and telling them things that are working. That's great. And explaining to them things around shit that's not working. And so, accountability and motivation really comes out of, it's one of the pros. It can be, some guys might find that intimidating because they're like, well, I don't want to pretend that I haven't got my shit sorted. Well, they're going to find out eventually, dude. So you might as well just cut to the chase and let them know what's going on. Honesty is the best policy. You go to our value wall here in our boardroom, and one of them, and I've talked about a lot, is open, honest communication. I cannot function if someone is not being straight up with me, because eventually if I find out you're not being straight up with me and all you've been doing is kind of just, putting on a facade, I just lose so much respect for folks that just bullshit me, that just don't be honest because they're trying to pretend. Like, I don't understand that, but I don't mean to be insensitive either. I'm just trying to, from a business owner standpoint, that's what I'm trying to put together. And so, with all of those sorts of things, having those 4 points, it can lead to increased creativity and innovation within the business. And I think we've got to be, I like to think that what I'm doing right now in delivering this podcast and going on TikTok lives, Q&As and Instagram is Gary Vee said this a long time, that he was an innovative disruptor. And I love the idea of that. I don't want to be just a disruptor for kicking up shit for no reason, although that might be kind of fun, but I want to be an innovative disruptor. I want to be able to go, hang on a minute, time out. This is what's been happening in this industry for so long. Why do we continue to do that? And I'm not going to tell you about the story about the lamb roast and why, the wife used to cut it in half, and it was all because her mother would cut it in half. And then when I went to my mother-in-law and said, why do you cut it in half? She said, well, my mum cut it in half. And then I finally caught up with the grandmother. I said, why did you cut it in half? She said, well, I didn't have an oven that was big enough to fit the whole lamb roast in. I had to cut it in half. And yet we're doing stuff today just because that's what dad did, or that's what mum did, or that's how it's done, or that's the way we've always done it. And so the innovation will develop off the back of the creative pool that you have in amongst your business partnership. And so, I admire, business partners that really have this fluid thing that's just working, that's exponentially creative, that's exponentially effective, that's, exponentially organized, and being able to really create some serious wealth from it. Matter of fact, just a really quick pro in between. That's the pros. They're the 5 pros: shared decision making, shared financial resources, the ability to pool skills and expertise, and then a sense of accountability and motivation. All of that can lead to increased creativity and innovation within the business. Now, here's the deal. Just a quick example of partnership, and I mentioned this probably on Q&As and podcasts, but we've just teamed up with Grant Cardone and his university, and the reason is because I know how to sell. I mean, I've sold retail for so long, and I've sold franchises for the last 4 to 5 years or whatever it is. And, I enjoy talking to somebody like you and then, them saying to me, Max, I've really got problems with project management and estimating, and how do I get paid to quote, and all these kinds of things. I really enjoy that. But the one thing that I really had a hard time doing was bringing our guys up to speed as it relates to sales and selling and the psychology of selling and the mindset of a millionaire. That is something that needs a lot of time spent both in the teaching room but also in the personal development side of things, where we've got, our guys embracing change. And so, I thought to myself for a long time, and I've been following Gary Vee stuff and Grant Cardone stuff. And finally I got to a point where I just said, you know what? We've got to make a change that is going to take us into, the next 5 years of business development at a competent, highly coherent level. And why would I reinvent the wheel? This is what, Grant Cardone talks a lot about. Money sitting on the table or sitting in the bank is no good to you. You got to grab that and create and invest it in something to then turn it so it turns around and provides an ROI, or return on investment. If it's just sitting in your bottom drawer under your bed, it's not. What is it doing for you? It's a tool. Money's just a tool. And so, I've chosen to invest back in the group to really exponentially grow the business, because I would see the Grant Cardone University now as a partner of Smith & Sons as it relates to sales and selling and the millionaire mindset. That's what I'm doing. So does it cost me money? Yeah. Do I have to make a sacrifice as far as, what's on our P&L at the end of the year as far as dividends? Of course I do. But what I'm thinking about is the 10-year plan. What's my BHAG, or my big, hairy, audacious goal? How am I going to put that together? I don't believe that I could have reached my goals if I didn't make that decision to move ahead in that regard. So there's some food for thought. Again, I'm talking from a position where I've got 3 business partners. I'm also, I guess one of our other partners is BuildExact. They're our job management software. Way back in the day, we had our own proprietary software, but that was the early days, and that soon basically fell off a cliff, and it was way more affordable or way more efficient financially to be actually go out, because of the updates and the constant re-engineering of said software. It was just easy to go out and get a third party and really nail it down as far as what we want. And now I think we've been with those guys for over 5 years. So there's lots of partnerships. It's really super important that you get your head around, give a little bit to get a little bit. That's how it works. Otherwise and this is why I didn't want to be the bottleneck in my guys' businesses. If I wasn't able to teach them consistently enough and adequately enough, then their ability to sell, their mindset as it relates to becoming a multimillionaire was going to be restricted through the lack of understanding and the lack of knowledge. So that's where I had to figure out, what tool can I use to get to those guys? What can I use to help them improve? And what can they do with the limited or minimal amount of friction in their life? Because, let's say you're 12 hours drive away. You're not going to come and sit in this office one day a week. It's just not going to work. So you've got to figure out what partnership, was going to work for us in that regard. So, we've only just got started with that. We're looking forward to some great success and some good success stories in amongst the Smith & Sons organisation here in Canada. Right, let's get on to some a little bit below the bar stuff, some cons. As it relates, and if you've been in a business partnership and things haven't worked out, then you're going to resonate with probably all of these 5 points. Point number 1 is that obviously disagreements among partners, which can obviously lead to tension and conflict, and obviously the relationship could be untenable and irreconcilable. And so that would be a sad day. But I think a lot of what I'm going to talk about in the cons really comes down to establishing what it is that suits you and what it is that suits the other person. And be honest with you, just because you're good buddies or good mates, if you're in Australia, mate, it doesn't necessarily mean that you'll be good business partners. Remember that. You might get on really well, as buddies or mates, but you just don't do business well together. Conversely, you might find that you're not real close in a social setting, but actually you seem to click on building sites and in business, and you've got similar goals around business, and maybe that'll work as well. So, that's one of the cons, the potential for disagreements causing conflict. It's absolutely, it's there all the time. And usually it stems from 2 individuals or whatever having a different view on a certain outcome of the business. And that's what strips it apart. Right, point number 2, partners may also have different goals and priorities. And here's the thing, you've got to start with the end in mind. You've got to make sure that you all understand that, okay, hey, if I'm talking to you about a business partnership, this is what I want to do. And then you might say, well, yeah, okay, that sounds good to me. That's what I'm believing in. That's where I want to go as well. So immediately you don't have a misalignment. You've got an alignment between your goals and priorities. So again, this is what should be discussed before you sign on the dotted line about, hey, this is what I want to do in business. And so, really identifying what it is that each party wants out of the business is a super important part of creating the right, footing on top of which you're going to build, a business. Because I'm telling you, once you get into it, it's pretty tricky to sort of, dissolve that and to get out of that. So point number 3, disagreements about the direction of the business. So, again, going back to, goals, or objectives, you really want to start with the end result in mind, and make sure that you understand that, ultimately this is where I want to go, but how we go about getting there, there might be different ways to, to get there. And so, the direction of the business really comes down to having that constant chat about what's happening within the business and whether or not you've got to make some pivots. Quitting is not the best option. It's really not an option, but a pivot, absolutely. It can salvage it. So this is where sometimes it needs some humility to go, all right, I don't think that's going to work, but I'm happy to give that a crack for 6 months. We can invest that much money, and if it's not successful, then we'll have to reconvene, and maybe we'll have a crack at it the way I want to do it. I think that's why you've got to be deliberate in what you're doing across the board in business, but especially when it comes to business partnership, you've got to be very deliberate, and really figuring out what each party wants out of the thing. Point number 4 there in the cons is partnerships can lead to disagreements about financial matters, right? And really that comes down to, where would you like to invest? You might have a bit of a bank. You might have created some surplus cash at bank, and, everyone's like, no, I want to leave that. I want to have 4 months worth of fixed expenses in the bank. But then one of the other business partners might want to go and invest in a new piece of equipment, or maybe even go invest in real estate. And so that's where having the end result is as the business, understanding what the direction might be that you're going to take. And then it comes back to, try and avoid those disagreements as it relates to financial matters around how you're going to invest the working capital. That's another one that's really going to take the wind out of your sails. You're going to take, I know what it's like when you take all of that creative energy and it goes into sorting out these political type discussions, or, legal discussions, and who's right and wrong, and what do I get, and, what if I leave, and all this kind of stuff. It really does. When we go back to talking about being an innovative disruptor, we need a lot of creativity. So a lot of the, the fundamentals of success is things like self-awareness, is things like your level of creativity, things like work ethic. And so all of those items have really got to be, those boxes have got to be ticked, especially in a partnership environment. Point number 5, it can be difficult and expensive to untangle the business and divide the assets. So if shit does hit the fan and it's not going to work out, one of the cons of business partnership is unwinding all of that can be an immense, expensive, disillusioning, disappointing type operation. And so we really, again, this goes back to, if you want to avoid that tangled mess at the end where you're trying to divvy up assets and, money and liability even, then let's have a really strong collaborative chit chat at the beginning before any ink is pressed onto paper, and make sure that we've really, designed and defined exactly what we're trying to do in the business and what the end result's going to be. Because if you do not, everything that's on that list of cons, and I'll go through that again. So disagreement among partners. If you don't go and itemize exactly what the outcome is going to be, you're going to have disagreements, and that's going to lead to tension and conflicts. Different goals and priorities. Again, it could have been sorted out at the beginning. Which leads to, it's like, where's the direction of the business today? We've come so far, but now where to? You've got to be constantly resetting those goals. If you don't get that right at the start, it's going to be hard to sort of figure out along the way what you're going to do. And then, of course, disagreements over the financial matters being point 4, number 5, to really untangle the mess that you've created. So, look, I hope that helps. If you want to get a hold of me, obviously like and subscribe if you're watching this on YouTube. And look, if you want to hit me up on email, max@businessforbuilders.ca. Just hit me up with one question maybe. Don't write me a novel. Well, if you've got to write me a novel, write me a novel. It just might take me some time to get back to. I know right now there's a guy in Sweden that is still waiting for my response. I will get back to you, my friend. I think his name's Ben. So, it just takes me a little bit of a while. But feel free to get in contact. Hit us up on, check out the B4B VIP Facebook page. That's where there's going to be, we're going to build a community. We're going to have, some resources in there. We're going to do a lot of under the hood videos, the longer version. We're going to put the short snippet versions on an under the hood playlist on YouTube, but on the B4B VIP, we're going to get down and dirty with some information. So I hope that really does help you today as you're moving forward. Go build a kick-ass business, and we'll see you on the next episode. Cheers.